We spoke with the directors of the brand new Nat Geo documentary Ocean with David Attenborough. Check out our conversation with Keith Scholey and Colin Butfield. I am obsessed with shows like this one. I grew up watching Sir David and all of his documentaries, and I was curious right off the bat, how does or when does Sir David get involved with something like this? At what point of the process do you bring him in? Is he there the whole time, or is it like you've done the movie and you go, you know, who'd be really great to narrate this thing?
So I've done many shows with him for the past 40 years, and the process is pretty similar every single time. At the start, we always come together and say, look, one of us has come up with an idea. Often it would have come from David in the past, but this one particularly came. We thought we wanted to do this film about the ocean, and we have a chat, and he says he's in or he's out, and he was very keen to be in with this one. And then from then on, it's a real iterative process with him. We often go away and research loads of different stories and find all the different ingredients. Then we come back together, and he's very good at actually shaping the overall structure of how this can all work. He's a genius at that. And so basically, yeah, through the whole process, we just work together. And at the end of it, you know, when it comes to really refining the words that he's going to say, he's extremely hands-on at that, and rightfully so, because he's probably, I think, the best, you know, narration writer that exists in the world, because he's a beautiful use of English. Every word is the right word and pared down to the bare bones, but he also writes for how he's going to deliver it.
Mhm.
And then you get that amazing combination when he finally delivers what he's written. It's knockout, and
I,
so that's the
I'm
process.
I'm so glad you said that. I have that in my notes about every word not just being the right word, but actually being delivered in a way that is accessible to you no matter where in the world you are, whether
Yeah,
you're a native English speaker or not. I
Mhm.
think there is a simplicity in his delivery of incredibly complex ideas,
Mhm.
which is second to none.
yeah, he's a
Exactly.
genius at that.
Yeah.
And you know, I've worked on lots of other programs where he hasn't been as involved, which he's just done the narration, but he always gets hold of the script and he rewrites it, and it comes back, and you thought, okay, okay, I am an amateur, and no, 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 he's a genius at that, and yeah,
I
Yeah.
think the incredible thing is, you know, whether you're a 10-year-old child or you're a marine biologist who's an absolute expert in it, you watch this and you're told a great story about the ocean. And
Yeah.
that is a genius in terms of storytelling and writing from David.
I'll
Genius.
pull back the curtain for me. I've done a lot of these junkets, but it's the first time I'm speaking to people who've done a documentary like this one. And every time I watch one of these things, in my head, I'm just going, how do you do the things that you do? And I'm curious, how, what is it? How much of it is people? How much of it is autonomous? How does technology play a role in getting the crazy footage that you guys get? Pull back the curtain for me. How does it work?
the starting point is always what's the best location for this thing. So say we want to go and film a coral reef. Loads of people have filmed coral reefs. You then often we just use the experience of what we've done in the past, and you end up there's this place called Raja Ampat, not very far away from you in West Papua, and
Yeah.
that's the place to go. Then it's who's going to shoot it. And that is the crucial thing. So we have on this film Doug Anderson, in my view, the best underwater cinematographer in the world. And Doug then says, okay, what's the story you want to tell? This is how I'm going to capture the pictures to tell your story. And he makes sure, and then he will pick a whole lot of, there's a lot of complicated equipment. Most people think underwater film is just a guy pushing a camera around. He takes big tripods down. He takes cameras with telescopes on them that really get you into the coral and film little fish and what have you. So there's a huge amount of detail the cinematographer will bring and the dive team around it. And so and really every single different shoot, if it's the open ocean, it's a slightly different thing. In the open ocean film, we we decided we really wanted to travel with animals. So um, the film team and the production team invented this thing we call a tow cam, which is sort of torpedo-like thing. You let drift out the back of the boat. It's got a camera in the back and two in the side. So there's the shots in there of dolphins sort of traveling along with you. Well, that's the tow cam, and that we just chuck that out the back, and there isn't a live feed from it. You just let these cameras roll, but you can see there are all sorts of dolphins, and you think they're looking at it, and then you come back and you look at the what the cameras are recording, and you go, "Wow, that's brilliant." So it's a whole lot of stuff, really.
Wow.
But the process of find the best place, often with the help of scientists, and then really then work the problem, work the place, and work out the specific who you need and the kit you need, and then you go to town.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So wait, forgive a silly question, but given the scale of what you're doing, how much of this is planned? Because obviously animals don't behave the way you think they're going to. And how much of it do you kind of change up as you move along, going, wait, this is a far more exciting story. Let's follow that instead.
In this particular film, because it was very script led, we absolutely planned what we had to kind of do. So we go to a coral reef and we say, okay, we need to illustrate this story because this is the script. Then, of course, the characters you might film to illustrate the story, you might think, oh, well, it's best to use sharks here. And then you think, well, no, actually, a barracuda is better because that's what we filmed. So you have the flexibility within the story to say what works best. But and this film particularly, we really stuck to the script. Other natural history films, you can sort of go to place and you think, well, that was a brilliant idea, which we turned up to do, and but this is so much better, and then you completely switch direction. But not on this one.
Okay. So you guys have been doing this for a while, and I'm assuming the advent of digital means you can tape a lot more and it's going to cost a lot less. Could you just talk to me about what it was like before crazy digital cameras and unlimited storage, and when you were working with tape? And has that made things easier or harder for you? Because I'm assuming you just have hours upon hours of footage now.
Probably Colin, it's one for me because I'm very old. So I started in the world of film, okay, and film with a sort of an underwater camera. You were sometimes only you only had some cameras only had 2.5 minutes of film in it,
Right.
and others, more sophisticated ones, 10. Um, but that's all you go on a dive and all you've got. So what happened in those days that cameramen were very selective about how they pushed the button and
Right.
and what they could kind of do. And film was really expensive, really, really expensive. So you didn't want to be hitting that button a lot. Then tape came along and it ran for a lot longer. And then people start to be able to run a lot more and so on. And now digital's come along and no one really cares about it. But you're absolutely right that the process changed from cinematographer having to really be selective about what was good to now it goes often to back in the editing process. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm not sure. Because what often happens now, you get so much material, actually sorting it through takes hours and hours and hours, and often, you know, maybe you have more choice, but making the choice actually at the spot was very, very focusing. So it's a different thing. But you're right now. Yeah, we have miles and hours of it.
Um, Colin, the thing I've always been curious about when it comes to these shows is the music choices. A lot
Yes.
of the time with documentaries like this, I can draw parallels to action movies and superhero movies. It uses a lot of strings and pianos and
Yeah.
soaring themes. And I'm curious, how do you decide on the tone and the mood of the music that you use for something like Ocean?
Well, with Ocean, I mean, we worked with Stephen Price, who is an incredible composer. You know, historically, he's won the Oscar for Gravity. He worked with us on Life on Our Planet and the Our Planet series. And very early on, we knew we wanted to make this because the film doesn't feel like a natural history film. I mean, there's obviously natural history in places, but I think right in its design as a cinematic experience, it was always
Yeah.
designed to be a feature. It was always designed to run, 85 minutes or thereabouts, have an A to B story, be very cinematically framed. So we needed somebody who could think in cinema rather than necessarily TV arcs. And right from the start, Stephen brought fresh ideas to it. You'll notice in various places there's almost there are choral voices running through it.
Yeah.
Bringing that in, that sort of we played with different ideas about even having one voice of the ocean running through, and you have a bit of that. But then gradually in Liberia, we brought in a male voice. In Hawaii, it's actually a Hawaiian chant that was composed by somebody who our team met when filming this, and actually composed the chant especially for it. So you're getting that thread between human and wildlife, and even those points where in a couple of moments the music's really quite, I guess, avant-garde. It's really very different from the sort of typical strings. It's all in service really of an immersive experience into the ocean. So you sort of feel that connection between humanity and the ocean. That was really the idea. And Stephen's brilliant. He's phenomenally accomplished. He's really good to work with on this stuff, and he really understands the mission, the mission of the film, what we were trying to achieve, and what was so different. So it was very, very good to work with him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really enjoyed what you did with this one because I thought there was a very, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought there was a very different philosophy to it in that I grew up watching these documentaries, and for me, the messaging in the past was always, let's show you how wondrous the earth is, and hopefully that inspires you to not be an asshole and destroy it. However, I think the messaging in this one, with the narrative involving the human beings,
Yes.
made that message hit home a lot more because we've done that. It doesn't seem to work. So let's tell people what's really going on.
Well, yeah, and I think the being able to pass to those different voices. So David links it, but obviously people from the places they are that give
Yeah,
us two things. One, it brought home, I think, in a different way, a fresh way. Certainly the intention was it was a fresh way from before. What it feels like when we have these negative impacts, what it feels like when fish stocks are collapsing. It's much better being told by a Liberian community telling the story of Liberia than it is for a British person to do that. But also when you get the recovery, which was one of the key things we wanted to get in this, that we're not ducking at all away from the impacts, but we
yeah,
show where it's got better. That again, that voice from the people that actually live there is coming through and telling that, and sort of complementing David's sort of linking pieces and talking more about the science of it. And they're bringing that emotional experience of what it feels like as a community to either see your fish and your ocean destroyed or to see it come back. And it gives you an emotional resonance. And I think we're emotional creatures as human beings. We're storytellers. Facts are useful and they help support arguments and help us understand things. But what changes your opinion is stories and other people.
no, absolutely. Gentlemen, I'm all out of time, but I loved your movie and it was fantastic. I always judge how much I love something like this by how emotional I get at various points. And I did tear up multiple times. So the trawlers, man, it's just horrific. But yeah, thank you so much and congratulations. It's
Oh, well,
brilliant.
pleasure. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real pleasure
Cheers,
talking to you.
guys. Lovely talking to you. Cheers.
The ocean. Our final frontier.
Ocean with David Attenborough debuts on Disney Plus Hotstar June 8th. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Sound off in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching.